Right now, you're probably sitting somewhere warm. Maybe you're annoyed the AC is set 2 degrees too cold. Maybe you just complained that it's freezing outside when it's 50 degrees. I mean, come on. Now imagine none of that exists. No walls, no heater, no fabric store. Just you, a frozen horizon, and a temperature that can kill you in 20 minutes if you get it wrong. That was Tuesday. For millions of years of human history, for most of the time our species has existed, we were an Ice Age animal, not the exception, the rule. It's older than agriculture, older than cities, older than the wheel, by tens of thousands of years. So here's the real question. If you got dropped into that world today, with your modern brain and, let's be honest, zero survival training, would you actually make it? Let's find out. Let's go back to the beginning. Around 2.6 million years ago, the planet started cycling through ice ages, and early human ancestors were caught right in the middle of it. Not modern humans yet. Earlier cousins like Homo erectus, wandering into brutal cold with nothing but stone tools, and honestly, stubbornness. Here's the first problem you'd hit immediately. Your body is tropical. Humans evolved in Africa. We are, biologically speaking, hairless, heat-loving, sun-adapted animals. We are, on paper, a genuinely terrible fit for snow. And yet, we made it work anyway. The fix wasn't better biology, it was better gear. Archaeologists have found evidence that humans were sewing tailored clothing, not just draping skins over themselves, but actually fitted garments, by at least 30,000 years ago, based on bone needles found at sites like Denisova Cave in Siberia. Tiny-eyed needles carved from bone, thinner than a modern sewing needle. Think about that. Someone in the Ice Age was doing precision tailoring. In a cave, by firelight. That's the first thing that would kill you, by the way. Not the cold itself, your clothes. If you showed up in jeans and a hoodie, you'd have maybe a few hours before hypothermia started shutting down your decision-making. Real Ice Age survival meant multi-layer fur systems, an insulating underlayer, a windproof outer layer, actual engineering. You do not have that. You have a puffer jacket from a mall. Okay, but let's say we hand you the gear. Full fur kit, proper boots, the works. You're covered. Next problem, food. And this is where it gets brutal, fast. During the last glacial maximum, around 20,000 years ago, huge parts of Europe, Asia, and North America were locked under ice sheets. Plants were scarce. Farming didn't exist yet. Wouldn't for another 10,000 years. So, what did people actually eat? Mostly, they hunted the biggest, angriest animals on the planet. Mammoths, woolly rhinos, giant elk with antlers wider than a doorway. At a site called Předmostí in the Czech Republic, archaeologists found the remains of what may be over 1,000 mammoths, hunted or scavenged by a single community over generations. One mammoth could feed a group for weeks and supply bones for shelter and tools for months. Here's what makes this so important. This wasn't luck. This was strategy. Ice Age humans were running coordinated group hunts using terrain, timing, and teamwork to take down animals that outweighed them by literal tons. That's not brute force. That's tactics. You alone with a sharpened stick? Yeah, you're not taking down a mammoth. You're not even convincing it to notice you exist. But here's the thing. Even if you somehow got food, you've still got one more killer waiting for you. The night. No streetlights, no moon, most nights, temperatures that could drop far below freezing the second the sun disappeared. Ice Age humans didn't just survive the cold. They had to out-organize it, every single night, for their entire lives. And this is where fire stops being a nice-to-have and becomes basically the foundation of human civilization. Evidence of controlled fire use goes back at least 400,000 years, but during the Ice Age, fire wasn't for ambiance. It was for staying alive until morning. At sites like Vela Spila in Croatia, researchers have found hearths reused again and again over thousands of years. The same exact fire pit, generation after generation, like a campsite that never closed. Same fire pit, different family, 10,000 years apart. That's not a fire, that's an inheritance. Now think about what that actually required. You needed dry tinder in a frozen landscape. You needed to keep coals alive overnight without letting them die out. Or worse, go out of control. You needed someone awake, basically always, managing it. Could you do that? Genuinely. Could you keep a fire alive through a sub-zero night using only flint, dry moss, and patience, knowing your life depends on it? Most people today have never even successfully used a lighter in the wind. So, yeah. Draw your own conclusions. So let's tally it up. You need custom-sewn thermal clothing you can't make. You need coordinated hunting skills you don't have. You need fire management expertise most of us have literally never practiced. And you need to do all three correctly, every single day, for years, with basically zero mistakes. Because the Ice Age doesn't give warnings, it gives outcomes. But here's the part that should actually blow your mind. They didn't just survive this. They thrived in it. Ice Age humans were painting on cave walls in France. They were carving flutes out of bird bone in Germany over 40,000 years ago. Actual playable instruments. They were burying their dead with jewelry and ochre and clear, deliberate ceremony. This wasn't a species barely hanging on. This was a species building culture in the middle of the harshest climate window humans have ever lived through. So here's the full picture. It starts with humans who, biologically, shouldn't have survived the cold at all. Then comes tailored clothing, sewn with bone needles thinner than you'd expect. Then comes coordinated hunts against animals 10 times our size. Then comes fire, protected and passed down like a family heirloom. And somehow, in the middle of all of it, art, music, ritual. And now, here you are, thousands of years later, annoyed that your thermostat says 68 instead of 70. That freezing feeling you complained about earlier? Your ancient ancestors would have called that a good day. A day they didn't have to fight for. You survive right now, every single day, on inherited knowledge you never had to earn. Clothing you didn't design. Fire you didn't have to protect all night. Food you didn't have to chase down and kill with a sharpened rock. So, could you survive as an Ice Age human? Honestly, almost certainly not. Not on day 1, probably not on day 100. But somebody back then figured out how, and every warm room you've ever stood in is proof they did. If you want to actually test some of this yourself, starting a fire with flint, sewing with bone needles, that kind of thing, there are some wild experimental archaeology videos out there worth a watch. Might change how you look at your thermostat.